From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Monday, November the 3rd, 2025. The remains of 3 hostages were returned last night to Israel by terror group Hamas via the Red Cross and have now been identified. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office said this morning IDF representatives informed the families of deceased hostages Colonel Asaf Hamami of blessed memory, Captain Omer Maxim Neutra of blessed memory, and Staff Sergeant Oz Daniel of blessed memory, that their loved ones had been returned to Israel, sharing in the deep sorrow of the families. The IDF noted that 40-year-old Colonel Hamami served as the commander of the Southern Brigade in the Gaza Division and was among the first to reach the combat zones in the south and to declare this is war, before being killed while fighting in kibbutz Nirim, his body abducted to Gaza. 19-year-old Staff Sergeant Daniel served as a combat soldier in the 77th Battalion, 7th Brigade. He was killed during a defensive battle, the IDF said, in the southern communities near the Gaza border, his body abducted by Hamas. And 21-year-old Neutra immigrated to Israel from the United States. He served as a platoon commander in the 77th Battalion, 7th Brigade. He was killed during a defensive battle in the southern communities near the Gaza border, his body abducted by Hamas. The IDF wrote it expresses deep condolences to the families, continues to make every effort to return all the deceased hostages. 8 remains are now still being held by terror group Hamas in Gaza. Israel's President Isaac Herzog addressed the state memorial ceremony today at the president's residence in Jerusalem, marking 30 years since the assassination of former Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin, where Herzog called attention to the dangers of incitement and violence that led to the assassination, warning it again seems that there are those who forget that violence is not a democratic tool, but the destruction of democracy. Herzog also spoke of Israel's impressive achievements in his remarks. In particular, he said the steadfast and courageous alliance with the United States under the leadership of President Trump, who he said is leading with determination and courage a tremendous historic effort to expand the circle of peace and normalization in the region. All of these, he said, open up before us the most significant opportunities. Yad Vashem, the World Holocaust Remembrance Center, announced today that it has recovered the names of 5 million Jews of the 6 million Jews murdered in the Holocaust. The work of 7 decades, it wrote, recovering the identities and memory of those whom the Nazis sought to erase. Yad Vashem Chairman Dani Dayan said reaching 5 million names is both a milestone and a reminder of our unfinished obligation, saying it is our moral duty to ensure that every victim is remembered so that no one will be left behind in the darkness of anonymity. Yad Vashem said the milestone will be presented in detail at a seminar at Yad Vashem this Thursday, November the 6th, and will headline an event hosted by the Yad Vashem USA Foundation in New York on Sunday, November the 9th. Well, the eyes of many in the Jewish world are on the New York City mayoral race with Election Day tomorrow, with many concerned about the potential election of candidate Zohran Mamdani. A number of rabbis in New York took to the pulpit this past Shabbat to share their concerns, including Central Synagogue's Rabbi Angela Buchdahl, who, while refusing to endorse or oppose any political candidate, spoke candidly to her congregation about her fear, she said, of living in a city and a nation where anti-Zionist rhetoric is normalized and contagious, and specifically noted her concerns about Mamdani, whom she said has contributed to a mainstreaming of some of the most abhorrent anti-Semitism.
His shocking 2023 accusation, when the boot of the NYPD is on your neck, it's been laced by the IDF. This crosses the line clearly into anti-Semitism, not only demonizing Israelis, but echoing the age-old anti-Semitic trope that Jews across the world are the root cause of our problem here. His false claims of genocide, his reluctance to label Hamas a terrorist organization, his unwillingness to condemn phrases like globalize the Intifada and absolute opposition to Israel as a Jewish state contributes to an atmosphere of denigration and ostracization of Jewish people everywhere.
Bookdell also said Mamdani's pledge to shut down the New York Police Department's Strategic Response Group, which broke up the violent protests at Columbia, could mean that when Jews are under attack, we may not feel protected.
It is hard not to fear that the environment we witnessed for our Jewish children on Columbia's campus after October 7th could be a preview of the way that New York City could start feeling for all Jews. For so many in this community, this is reason enough to determine your vote unequivocally.
We will have more for you on Election Day tomorrow, Tuesday. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Monday, November the 3rd at 7 o'clock on JLMinute, JNS Bureau Chief Alex Traiman and journalist Josh Hasten break down the week's events in Israel. At 8, Abigail Pogrebin is joined by Zibby Owens, best-selling author, publisher, bookstore owner, and host of the hit podcast Totally Booked with Zibby. At 8:30, Eric Goldman speaks with filmmaker Oren Rudavsky to talk about his powerful documentary, Elie Wiesel, Soul on Fire. At 9, it's the late Elie Wiesel on L'chaim. At 10, it's David Harris on In the Spotlight. At 10:30, an encore of the news, and coming up next, it's Good Week, Israel. And that's the JBS News Update for Monday, November the 3rd, 2025. I'm Teisha Bader. Am Yisrael Chai.